company, iHeartMedia Incorporated.
Welcome to the Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio Show, your weekly voyage into Florida fishing. Presented by Hubbard's Marina, hosted by Captain Mike Anderson and Captain Dylan Hubbard.
Good morning, Tampa Bay. Captain Dylan Hubbard here for the Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio Show, talking fishing, and here, unfortunately, only till 8 o'clock. And we are going to be bringing you what's going on now, what's coming up, and more. Hopefully you're ready for a great show and you're having a great start to your Saturday. A little chilly out there, but not too bad. We are on the backside of a last quarter moon, coming up to a new moon a week from today, next weekend. And a little bit of a slower moving tide through the weekend, but it's going to be picking up for us around early to mid work week. We'll see more tidal flow, more water movement, and hopefully some more actively feeding fish. And a little stirred up from this little cold front, but water should clear up fast as we approach that new moon. Temperatures dipped a little bit, definitely closer to that like mid to high 60s range near shore, a little warmer offshore. And the bite has been real good for us. So get out there and take advantage of this nice weather window. Pretty much almost the entire work week coming up, and the rest of this weekend is looking really good wind-wise, basically 10, 12 miles an hour or less all the way through Thursday, and really, really moderate seas. So great weather forecast coming up. Picks up a little bit potentially Thursday night into Friday morning and a little bit Saturday, but nothing real crazy forecast-wise. We finally have 7 to 10 days here forecasted where we don't have a really solid period of higher winds. So looking forward to some great weather. Fish are on the move. Things are happening. It's an exciting time of year for sure. This weather update was brought to you by our friends over at Reese Windows and Doors. They are Florida's leading window and door company with over 50 years in business, and they offer free installation on most windows and doors, and they install in just 6 weeks. They only use in-house installers, no freelance contractors, and their work comes with a double lifetime warranty, which means you never pay for that warranty. When you sell your home, the warranty also transfers to the new owner, adding value to your home. Visit reesewindows.com for more information. And in studio this morning, we've got Tim Duncan. What's going on, man?
Good morning, Dylan. How's it going, buddy?
Doing well, man. Good to have you here. For those unaware, Tim is an angler, avid angler from around the area. Started fishing with us a few years ago, and I have watched you go from just starting out to becoming a relative pro, and it's cool to see, and I'm glad you could join us this morning. You've also gotten really into slow pitch jig fishing. You do a lot of inshore side of things. You even do some freshwater fishing too, right?
Yes, sir.
A little bit of everything.
Absolutely.
So how'd you get started on this whole journey?
A few years ago, I was looking to tie a knot on a hook and catch a fish. I eventually discovered you guys, and I have to give you guys a great deal of credit because pretty much everything I learned offshore and near shore, I can say Will, you yourself, Smokey, all those guys helped me kind of fine-tune my fishing to where I can utilize Hubbard's the best. So I take full advantage of that, man. I'm so grateful, and I'm looking forward to even further in that, getting in the slow pitch and destination trips down the road. So it'd be cool.
It's cool. I think you are a great example of like the party boat evolution of the angler, right? It's so interesting to me, and I think a big blessing, and something I take very seriously in my life is we have the opportunity to cater to a large number of anglers on a party boat. And a lot of times you'll have different walks of life, different people. Certainly. And it's so cool to watch people go from, hey, how do you tie this knot? What is offshore fishing? Yep. What's a grunt? What's a gray snapper? I've never seen this before.
Is this a keeper? How do I cook this?
Yeah. To then go from someone like yourself who's now working full-time at a tackle shop, who's gotten into slow pitch jig fishing and has really, really taken off. So it's cool to see and it's cool to watch. So congrats, man. Thank you.
It's even cooler to have an outlet for that. You guys supply the best service to the introduction for fishing. There's not an entry level. You can absolutely know nothing about fishing, never seen water once in your life, and go out on a 5-hour trip and have a blast. So, what you guys do for the community is very respected, and we're grateful for it. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, brother. And it's good to have you in studio this morning. I know you've done a lot inshore as well. You got a lot of buddies fishing. And what was that cobia you caught recently? That not that recently, but a few years ago, you got a monster cobia you were telling me about.
Yep, at Apollo Beach, that warm water outlet, man, that's one of my favorite places of all time to go fishing. If I can get in a little dinghy or a kayak, I'll just post up on the buoys, and I'll either throw some paddle tails like an NLBN up and down that wall, or fish out and free line some greenbacks. But actually, I met a guy on the beach who offered to take our shark rigs out, got his phone number, and eventually went out fishing with him. And our first time out, we pulled up to the buoys. He dropped down a bait and landed a baby Goliath off rip. And I was like, oh, man. And then he started landing some big mangroves. And then he's like, man, my back's really starting to hurt. I said, really? He goes, yeah, from holding up the weight of this team. So about that time, I noticed my line was directly underneath me, and I was like, it's time. I had 20-pound braid, 20-pound fluoro, and a 2-aught hook on a live greenback, and I ended up catching a 38-inch cobia.
Well, nice.
Right there, I could throw a rock to shore. So it was an adventure, to say the least.
That's cool. And I've seen the beach shark fishing side of things. I've seen some of the photos on your Facebook page and some of the photos on your social media. Have you been into beach shark fishing for a long time, or is that something relatively new to you?
So at that point, man, I just kind of joined the club. My best friends are some of the best land-based shark fishermen on this coast. Eli Glisson and Wyatt Glass. They pretty much taught me everything I knew about getting into fishing.
Oh,
I used to follow those dudes around on the beach saying, hey, can you help me tie a knot? Can I kayak out your baits? Can I catch some fresh fish? And our first tournament together, I brought a friend with me, so it was a 4-man team. We ended up landing a 14-plus foot hammerhead. And, we won the competition. It was a great time from there, and it's just that started the downhill.
You hook a 14, or you land a 14-foot hammerhead. That's gonna get you fired up on fishing.
Yeah. Most certainly.
So beach shark fishing, you've been doing that probably the longest. Then.
Yeah, I'd say so. Probably about 4 years. I'm not too big into it. It's hard to do it in our area between the crab traps. People don't really like shark fishing, and I don't blame them. It seems like a big, horrible thing to do, but realistically, with the correct anglers and the correct gear, it's one of the funnest. It's one of the most rewarding. Like when you do land that 13, 14 plus
in the surf,
shark in the surf
at night.
And that was funny because when we were letting that shark go, Eli and Wyatt were, kind of shoving it off, and my friend Zach and I had a big light up above us, and I said, man, we've got chum in the water, we've got baits in the water. This is probably not ideal to be in the water. And about that time, a little pup shark just swam right in front of us through the surf. So it's kind of it's a real connection. Those shark fishermen, they take it serious, man. So
yeah, it's wild. Land-based shark fishing is very, very cool. Yep. And now you have to have a permit for it in order to do it off the west coast of Florida, which is interesting. And that was interesting how that whole thing happened. But you're kayaking baits out there, right?
Correct. Yep.
You haven't gotten into the drone shark fishing yet.
I don't have the money to get into the drone thing just yet, but in the future, I definitely like to get a drone. That's too cool, man. But there's something about kayaking a bait out where it's ominous. It's scary. It's kind of
I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Let's put out a bunch of chum at night, sit on the beach where we know there's 14-foot sharks, and then let's climb into a little tiny kayak with a 2-pound, 3-pound bait.
Oh, yeah.
Hanging off the back of the kayak to kayak it out into the shark territory.
It's frightening. And if you've ever caught a shark, man, they've got that real distinct smell to them. If you cut them up or use them for bait. I've been at Apollo Beach at night, just regular, throwing lures and stuff like that. And I got to the point where the entire open air around me smelled like shark.
Wow.
And believe it or not, I got out of the water.
Smart.
Yeah, no kidding.
So with the drone fishing is pretty interesting, though. They make obviously the ones you fly out there, and those are pretty expensive. But there's some boat versions of them where you put the little boat in the water, and the boat, you can drive the RC boat out there, and it'll drop your bait for you. And one of our staff members we work with at Don's Dock actually ordered one of those.
Oh, sick.
It's still in the mail. It's been in the mail for like 6 months. But
a lot of those come from China and stuff like that. The Swell Pro Series are super, super high end. There's one main guy in the shark fishing community. I forgot his name, but he is like the swell pro guy. He's got 100 of them in his living room.
Oh, nice.
He does the warranties and stuff like that. But the RC boat thing is kind of fun because I guess you could do it with the drone too, but you get the RC side of it. So when you're sitting there soaking baits, nothing's happening immediately. You're hitting little circles in your drone or in your boat. It's pretty fun.
Yeah,
it's cool.
It gives you something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the shark fishing. So if you were going to set a bait out, I had a guest. We do a shark fishing trip on Friday nights. And unfortunately, we had to cancel last night's trip because of that weather.
Okay.
And we had a guy in from out of town. He's from Michigan, and he was fishing with his son, and he really wanted to go out shark fishing. I was like, listen, man, we're not going to be able to make it. It's too rough. Even if we were able to get out there, water's been a little bit stirred up. It's probably going to be a pretty tough bite, but you can fish off the beach. And honestly, if you're doing it right and you have the right setup, you can honestly have a very similar chance at catching a big shark. And so I kind of went into some of the description. He came back. He bought some bonita, bought some leader, and we got him dialed in for it. But, I mean, if you're going to kayak out a bait to really have a chance at a big shark, you're just going past that second sandbar, right? Or are you going all the way?
Some guys, they send it. They'll take the biggest, baddest bait. They'll send it as far as they can go because most of them will have, like, these big 14-aught to 20-aught Everall reels.
Yeah.
And they're just monster bluefin tuna reels. And they'll take a third of the line off, just dropping it off. And sometimes it works for you. Sometimes it works against you. I've been on the beach where we show up. My friend Eli will drop a bait real close. It'll get hammered immediately, and then the bait he dropped out far. On the near bait, we catch a 11-foot hammerhead. On the far bait, we catch a 6-foot bull shark or something like that. So it just kind of, it's all in the fishermen.
Yeah.
If you want to kayak out far, if you want to take that risk, if you've got the line, the capacity, the whole nine, they'll do it.
That's crazy. What's your favorite beach shark fishing bait?
I'll tell you what, man. My friend Wyatt Glass turned me on to barracuda.
Really?
Barracuda, they stink so much. We'll go out to he's in South Carolina, so we'll hit the radio towers out there with a big high-speed vertical jig and just tear up the amberjack and tear up the barracuda. So we'll do a little hodgepodge. But if you have bonita or barracuda in that chum bucket in the mixture, it just sets it off. It's like radiation coming off that bait, and they smell it a mile away.
Yeah, barracuda are stink.
Man, stink missiles.
Awesome stuff. Well, we're going to be talking about slow pitch jig fishing and more this morning. Hopefully, we'll hear from you as well. Remember, 1-800-969-9352 to join the conversation. Myself, Tim Duncan, will be right back for the Real Animals Bartow Ford Fishing Show.
Hey anglers, the best fishing charters in the Bay Area out of Hubbard's Marina on the boardwalk at John's.
The one Facebook photo on the top of your Facebook, that's a huge tiger, right?
Big hammer.
Oh, that's a hammer?
That tape only went to 12 foot, so where it stopped and the tail just kept going, we just
That's
assumed.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's a big animal, dude.
I can't take any kind of credit, man. I was there along for the ride, but the cool thing was we were hooked into it. He was ripping on our biggest reels that we had. Eventually, Eli was on the rod and snap. It snaps off, and we're like, oh, man. Eli's like, I'm ready to hit the bar, and I'm done with this trip. And so we told my buddy Zach to go ahead and grab the other reels and start reeling them in. We thought there was a small shark on the other one. We didn't really care. And he's reeling it in. He said, get all that seaweed off the line so it doesn't mess it up. And I go, and all of our leaders are clumped together. So this thing was running back and forth, collecting all our leaders. So we actually reeled it in with a whole different setup after it snapped off. And
wow.
Landed it, released it, won the competition.
That's crazy.
Yeah, went home.
So it had gone around and eaten all the other baits, basically.
Pretty much, or just ran straight through them. Yeah.
Wow.
That was a good hour and a half of big fight. So.
That's crazy. It's a big animal, dude.
Oh, no kidding. It'll put it in perspective how dangerous the surf can be.
Yeah. A lot of big sharks out there.
I know somebody caught a big hammerhead off of out of the pass within the last year, right?
Yeah, the one of the kids that worked with us, Nate, he caught like an 8-foot hammerhead off the jetty.
Oh yeah.
That was a big dog.
8-footer's nothing to play with.
No. I like a tiger shark though. Tiger sharks are like the most beautiful animal.
No kidding.
Especially you get one of those that are big enough to have the markings, but not big enough to really lose them yet.
Like so you don't know what it is at first?
Yeah. That 6-7 footer. I mean, such a beautiful animal.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
I was on a private boat one time. My first time out on that boat, I free-lined a grown off the back and landed a big blackfin tuna. So the owner of the boat next time obviously wanted to do the same thing. So he threw a vermilion off the back, and I'm watching it. And I said, we ought to reel that in so that big clump of grass doesn't hit it. And that big clump of grass moved. And next thing you know, it was probably a 9-foot, big, heavy tiger shark, and it just cruised up.
Wow.
Chomped the vermilion and slowly took off with it, man. It was
That's crazy.
insane.
That's crazy. So that big clump of grass doesn't get it.
Yeah. I need glasses clearly, but I thought it was just a big mat, and it was just happened to be right up at the top, just taking its time and cruising. There's something else. Those tiger sharks, they've got their own personality. They're like dogs.
Yeah. They're cool animals, man.
How have the shark trips been lately?
They're a little bit hit and miss because, I mean, you can get out there and you can anchor up, and sometimes the shark fishing is great.
Right.
And then sometimes you anchor up and get out there and it's just
Dull.
Slow.
Yeah.
And it's what people don't understand is once you establish that chum line, you don't want to move.
No.
And our captains are all trained. Hey, if they're not biting, let's go.
Yep.
So it's a big challenge, not only talking to the captain into staying, but also explaining to the guests that, hey, I realize we're not catching anything, but we have to stay here because we've established a chum line.
Right.
If we move 200 yards over there, it's just going to hurt you.
Hang out. Yeah.
Yep. So it's a little bit of a hero or zero style trip. And it's frustrating because sometimes you get out there and we fish along the Egmont Channel. That's us.
Okay.
Now your captains, Mike Anderson and Dylan Hubbard.
We're back. Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio, talking fishing this morning. Myself, Captain Dylan Hubbard. We've also got Tim Duncan in studio this morning, talking fishing. Slow pitch jig fishing and more. Hopefully we'll hear from you as well. Remember 1-800-969-9352 to join the conversation. Want to give a shout out to our friends over at Affordable Roofing Systems. Whether you need a shingle, metal, tile, or a flat roof, our friends at Affordable Roofing Systems are your safest choice for repairs or replacements. With over 3 decades of roofing experience, let Affordable Roofing Systems guide you through this important process. They are defined by integrity, respect, and honesty, and they have a professional approach to doing business. Call 888-397-ROOF for your free estimate or visit them online at affordableroofingflorida.com. Good people. They did my roof, my neighbor's roof, Big Ben Marshall. They helped Bobby with his roof. Really, really, really great company over there, Affordable Roofing Systems. So, slow pitch jig fishing. You've gotten really into that recently, and you've definitely given me a lot of advice. How would someone go about getting into slow pitch jig fishing?
Make a lot of money. No. So with slow pitch jigging, a lot of people are a little bit hesitant about the initial investment, but your gear is, everything at that point. So I suggest if you're going to get into it, take a couple weeks, set some money aside. You can go to, Gator Gyms has some reels up there that probably work great. I'm sure they have all the options you can want, the Fisherman's Hut, the Outfitters and stuff. So you can find a local tackle shop that'll have a little bit of everything and go in and ask. But entry level, I would suggest, going out with you guys. That's where I learned everything. 39-hour trips give you the most time that you can have out jigging without spending $2,500 on a private charter or something like that. But, get the rod, get the reel, get you some jigs, and you really just need the time out there. So once you get past all that initial investment, it's nothing but time, and it produces, man. I love it.
It's wild.
Pitch. Yeah.
And what's cool, I think, about slow pitch jig fishing is it gives people like another evolution, right? As we were talking about earlier, the evolution of the angler, to me, slow pitch jig fishing is like class 102, right?
Correct.
You don't want to just jump to slow pitch jig fishing if you don't offshore fish, if you don't deep sea fish. you want to get started bait fishing, just learning the ropes.
Yep.
But eventually you get pretty good at it. And once you're pretty good at it, then I think slow pitch jig fishing is that next logical step. And as you said, as far as like getting into it, the 39 hour is a great opportunity. The 12-hour extreme, we have a lot of it too, but the 39 hour is cool because you have that amount of time.
Correct.
And nowadays, it's rare that we have one of those trips where you don't have a guy or a couple guys or a girl out there who is just jigging the whole trip.
Yep.
And it's cool to kind of see that because they initially kind of come together, right? It's like, oh, he's jigging, I'm jigging, and then they end up becoming friends and getting to know each other.
It's a small community to say the least, and it's a lot of fun. But I didn't start jigging. I had my outfit, and I went to 2 39-hour trips where I was just a helmet fisherman. I was like big line, big leader, big hooks. I have to land fish. You know, it wasn't until about my third trip where I think it was Will's first trip as a captain. It was a very light load. We went out far, we went out deep, and I said, you know, since I have the time, not everybody's around, you know, I'm going to go ahead and drop a jig to the bottom. And the second it hit the bottom, I landed like a 3-foot Almaco, and I was
It was on.
It was on. It was on after that. And it got to the point where Will, if he had anchored up and he came down and I was hooked up, we'd stay. If I was jigging away and we weren't getting much, he knew it's not as active. We're going to go ahead and head on. So
that's awesome.
It's cool.
And what's interesting to me, I think, is it like you said, it doesn't matter when you're slow pitch jig fishing. It's almost like it doesn't matter what you catch.
Right.
Because if that rod is bent, you're fishing such a light, flimsy rod that it's a lot of fun. Like I remember when I was getting started slow pitch jig fishing, if you're bait fishing and it's outside of red snapper season and you catch a red snapper, so frustrating.
Yeah.
Oh, another red snapper. Oh,
can we move?
Yeah. Oh, all I'm getting is red snapper. This is annoying. But you hook a red snapper on a slow pitch jig out of season, you're like, oh yeah, it's fun. Nice big fight. And it's just a fun style of fishing.
Absolutely.
But getting into it is definitely that financial barrier. But I think that's come down a lot now. I mean, there's a lot of affordable series now.
Oh yeah. And that's the cool part about the introduction is you can see it on TV like I did. I saw I went to a tackle shop and I was watching a video. This kid said, I want to catch an amberjack on the slow pitch, and I was like, I don't know what that is. So I watched him, and he would put the rod up on the gunnel and crank it like a well handle, and it just up came a huge amberjack. And I said, man, there's something to that. So eventually I got pretty in tune with jigging. I frequent your trips a lot, and a young kid on a couple previous trips, he was watching me, and I look over and I said, do you want to try this? And he's like, I was going to ask what you were doing. So I gave it to him, and he started jigging. Then he caught a little American red snapper. He was like, oh man, that was cool. I said, you want to do it again? He's like, no, it's okay. I said, are you sure? He said, yeah, it's okay. I dropped my jig right down and landed a 9-pound scamp.
Nice.
Like, oh, I could have caught that? I said, man, I tried to tell you.
I gave you the chance.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're going to get into a little bit more on slow pitch jigging, and hopefully we'll hear from you as well. Remember, 1-800-969-9352. If you have a question, comment, fishing report, bring it in, and don't forget to check it out on our stream as well. We're going to be right back, Real Animals Radio, after this.
From the local Lexus dealers, WFLA News Desk.
Yeah, scamp. Love them jigs.
My favorite.
Triggerfish, too.
Oh, man.
Triggerfish love a jig.
I was on a trip with Garrett, and Garrett is the man. He's
I love
absolutely
Garrett,
one of the best captains. He came down and said, is anybody catching triggerfish? And Bobby points at me, and he just caught 20 of them. One little jig, man. They were firing off on it like you wouldn't believe.
It's crazy. I feel like triggerfish, red grouper, sometimes scamp are like the main suspects, and then of course red snapper.
The whole trinity of slow pitch, pretty much. Yeah,
red snapper, triggerfish, red grouper. It's like those are the beginning angler versions, and then once you get it dialed in, you start catching some of the others.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody, and I really want to catch scamp grouper. What jig would you suggest? And I said, I've caught more scamp grouper on a jig than all the other grouper combined.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Really?
Gags and reds, they don't They love them. I've definitely caught them. You can definitely catch them, but the scamp just, I don't know what it is.
You think
really
you've
like
caught
it.
more scamp on a slow pitch than a red grouper?
100%.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. I'm definitely more red grouper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeper and quality wise, man, is one time I was on the boat with Walter when I slow pitched at Hogfish, and I said, Walter, this is a scamp grouper magnet. He said, really? Boop, scamp grouper right off rip. So,
What color?
I like the Maxell. They're like a brown or red squid jig. I'll have to get you one. They're
Yeah.
fire.
Maxell squid jigs.
The dragonflies, yep.
Yeah, short, fat.
Yep.
Yeah. I love those little short fatties. The wavy used to be my favorite.
I know.
The wavy was the shit, man.
Yeah, I like the wavy a lot.
I caught so many fish on that wavy.
It's got
There was
that
one
action.
trip that I fished nothing but that jig, and I just kept changing the color.
The entire
And
time.
then I found the color that I was using. I was using it, lost it, dropped down another one, same color, using it, catching a bunch of fish, lost it,
Yep.
dropped down another one. I was on my third jig, and yeah, I ended up losing it too.
$35 later.
Yeah, right. But I went back and bought like 10 of that color. It was the blue and glow wavy.
Oh yeah.
Man, that was
It's got
a
the
great
glow
jig.
on the back with the wavy side and the blue up front.
Yeah,
Yep.
I love that jig. I think I have one left.
And they're priceless at that point.
Yeah. And they have another model out, and Diogo has another model of that wavy, right?
I believe so. We got I'm trying to think of all the names. We got the Leaflies, the Mosquitoes, the Navigators, the Bombs, and I think the Leaflies have the wavy
Yeah,
action.
I think the
on.
Leafly was his answer to the wavy.
Those jigs, man. It's the most fun fishing in the world.
It's cool. It's worth trying out, but you definitely want to have the rod to go with it.
Yeah.
Just like anything, you know, like bait fishing. The difference between fishing a $10 Walmart setup and a $300 custom rod it's a huge difference.
Night and day.
And it's the same thing with slow pitch jig fishing. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I'll just try with this jig on my rod," and you can. It might work. It does work, but it's just not the same.
No. And those rods, man, they're so unique. You know?
Yeah.
So
Powerful and bendy.
finely tuned to just be. It seems unbreakable.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's not. You know, they're fragile.
And the way they're tuned in.
I actually am thinking about booking one of your shark trips. Actually,
Yeah.
yeah, my friend will come down from South Carolina. I'll get those guys going. We'll
Yeah.
get out, try to catch some big ones.
That'd be cool. Yeah, if those guys want to come down and we'll put together just a shark adventure trip.
Oh yeah,
That'd be cool to get some content. That'd be good advertising.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Those guys are the best. Eli
Yeah.
actually runs a land-based shark fishing charter right
Oh,
off
really?
the beach. Yeah. And,
But that's in South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have the frontier to do it. South Carolina.
Can you drive on the beach there?
No.
Okay.
But everything is accessible.
Yeah.
It's kind of. It's a beautiful
Like the
place.
Texas land-based shark fishery is nuts.
Drive up with your truck, a giant platform, 5 giant rods going off the back of your truck. That's cool. That's a cool way to fish.
Yeah.
I like that.
Corpus Christi area.
Mm.
That's a wild frontier, man.
There's a lot.
But
of
you have
those,
to kayak out the bait so far because I went down there for a fisheries meeting and went down to the beach. You have to kayak the bait a couple miles
Yeah.
because it gets deep so slowly.
Yep. Just very, very, very gradual. One of the biggest places right now that people are going to Navarre Beach, actually. And it's like, everybody says it's like the moon out there. Just dunes and desert, but
Navarre Beach is
very
wild.
sharky.
Yeah,
Very sharky.
I've been swimming there a few times. It's unnerving.
I believe it.
We are back. Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio on News Radio 970 WFLA. Talking fishing this morning with Tim Duncan, slow pitch fishing, and more. Hopefully we'll hear from you as well. Remember, 1-800-969-9352 to join the conversation. We want to give a shout out to our friends at Relentless Perpetual Edge Knives. These are the world's first self-sharpening knives that actually sharpen as they cut. They have an ultra-hard carbide, never rust titanium blade with true grit glass reinforced ABS handle on a knife that is perfectly balanced, and it comes in 5 great models. Take the work out of filleting a pile of fish today and get a Relentless knife. Go to relentlessknivesusa.com and find out for yourself why this is the knife all the pros are talking about. With that, we've got Travis from Polk County on the line. What's going on, Travis?
Hey, what's up, fellas? Good show already this morning.
Captain Travis Thompson. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, man. Good. How are you guys?
Imperial Polk County. We're doing well, man. Good to hear from you, buddy. How about you?
Headed to Mount Dora this morning to meet your Florida meat. It's a festival of small farmers and small growers and beef producers and alligator meat and everything else. I hated I couldn't be there with you guys this morning. Tim sounds awesome. Love his story. Love listening to kind of his fishing journey unfold. This is great stuff. But just want to call in and say good morning and let you guys know I'll be out here all day today, all day tomorrow. You can come load your cooler up with fresh grown Florida beef or pork or poultry or whatever else.
You have my interest. Where is this?
Yeah.
In Mount Dora? Where is it exactly?
Yeah, it's at Great Scott Farms in Mount Dora. And it's from 10 to 3 today and tomorrow. It's part of Florida Farm Finders program. We're their conservation partner at All Florida. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a great day. I'm looking forward to being out there.
Florida Farm Finders. Wow, can't talk this morning. I think my sister is involved with that with the Orange Grove at Wonderfield. That's a cool program for sure.
Yeah, Tara's been out there before or been on that site before, and it's a really cool way. Like if you're local and you want to get honey or eggs or some grass-fed steaks or locally raised beef or whatever, it's a great place to do it. And we're talking fishing this morning, but I always like to talk conservation at a big level, and that's those small family farms, if we can keep them viable, keep them in business, that's one less place where we're putting a new subdivision. So this is a great way to kind of do the conservation game too.
Yeah, and knowing where your food comes from is pretty cool as well. Getting local, fresh, locally grown small farms, it's good stuff. Nothing beats a small farm steak, let me tell you.
Yeah.
That's right. And then while I got you, I'm headed on up to Tallahassee tomorrow night. And we're going to be in Tallahassee working all week, for all the anglers and hunters and conservationists in Florida, talking about a whole bunch of bills, meeting with a whole bunch of people, trying to keep Florida wild and free.
Amen to that. It is legislative session time, and Captain Travis Thompson is busy with All Florida doing their thing. What's some big news coming? What's the main plan this session? Is it public information yet? What are we working on?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things on my radar that you try to figure out what's what. I tell people all the time I don't follow the social media norms just because that's what's on the social media mob. Mm-hmm. Like I like to go sit down with members or their staffs or whoever and find out kind of what's the reasoning behind this bill. And everybody's kind of binary. Do we want this or do we not want it? I'm more like, can we fix this? Like, what are your reasons? Maybe they're good reasons, but maybe you've not considered anglers or hunters or landowners or, conservation of water quality, those kind of things in it. Is there ways we could change some language in it? So we're looking at some really good stuff like Senator Simon and Representative Schoaf up in the Panhandle are working on trying to stop the Apalachicola oil drilling.
Yeah, that would be a big win.
We're looking at some stuff on the freshwater side that's a little more like we don't quite understand it, but it's a guides license for the freshwater. We don't really know where it originated from, so we want to sit down with that member and kind of understand that bill and what he's looking to do and work alongside like ASA and 6a-8a and obviously All Florida Guides Association. We all we say it all the time to each other. We just want to be in the room so that we can have influence over the policies that can affect us. We're watching the sprawl bills that everyone's talking about. We're meeting on those and discussing those, and I'm optimistic that this is going to be a good session. Like everybody likes to only give you the bad stuff. I'm optimistic it's going to be a good session for Florida, for conservation, for the stuff that we care about, the wild stuff.
I like the optimism, man. I get flack for that a lot. My GM calls me enthusiastically optimistic, and it annoys her. But you got to look at the silver lining, man. So I appreciate your help, Travis, and all you do through All Florida. And good luck this week in Tallahassee, brother. And have fun today at Great Scott Farms in Mount Dora. That's a beautiful piece of Florida, man. Mount Dora is a special place. I used to live over there or close to there when I went to school at UCF, and it's a beautiful area for sure. Lake Jessup, so alligator populated. It's crazy.
Hey, I do need Tim to do me a favor. Like when Ron calls in, if Ron's tackle box calls in, first I drove by it like 20 minutes ago, but second, I need him to bring up the purple booyah somehow surreptitiously just to get. I mean, it's not going to be hard, but like Tim, that's his job. He's got to get that done.
I can do that. I'm familiar with this.
Thanks, Travis. We appreciate you, buddy.
Let's have a great day.
See you, man.
Bye.
Always a pleasure to hear from Captain Travis Thompson. We also got Captain Van Hubbard on the line. What's going on, Captain Van? How are you this morning?
Oh, I'm up here in Imperial Polk County today myself.
Oh, nice. Polk County representing today.
Yeah. Yesterday was my better half's birthday, and so we came up here to see her family.
That's awesome, man.
Wanted to, y'all were talking about slow pitch jigging, and my friend Mason McLaughlin is commercial fishing with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they were so far south, they went into the fort the last blow to ride it out.
Wow.
But I sent you some pictures. It's unbelievable what he's catching on those slow pitch jigs. Grouper, snapper, Kitty Mitchell's, scamp. He had 5 or 6 real nice scamp yesterday. One gutted was like 17 or 18 pounds.
Oh, man, that's a monster.
That's a horse.
Fish he's catching on there.
Yeah, you don't want to see these pictures, Tim.
I'm sure.
It's frustratingly awesome. Oh, man.
He does real good on muttons with them, too.
Yeah, the mutton snapper. I mean, the mutton snapper population in general is so healthy, and it's expanding further north. They just finished a stock assessment for yellowtail snapper and mutton snapper, and I always kind of brace myself and prepare for the worst when these stock assessments start. But luckily, both yellowtail, mutton, and also the red grouper stock assessments that all 3 just concluded were all overwhelmingly positive. So good to see, good to hear, and hopefully that mutton snapper continues north. I was talking to a buddy who was a commercial fisherman, and he was fishing north of the 28 line. And for those unaware, that's like Tarpon Springs essentially area. And he was fishing north of that offshore and was catching almost 1,000 pounds of mutton that far north.
Wow.
Which is nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was fishing full time at a younger age, working the boats, I mean, we caught a mutton snapper maybe once a year. And that's only if we were really far to the southwest out of central West Florida. And now it's like you can go northwest and still catch mutton. It's wild. Definitely interesting, right, Van?
Yes, sir. Also, the boys, that beach renourishment sand, it just stirs up so easy. It's been dirty out to about 65 feet. I'm hoping with our forecast this week it's going to clear up some. But the boys did real good on kingfish last Wednesday when we had the good weather, 65 to 85 feet.
Wow,
mostly schoolies, but, they came up in their snapper chum, and they were catching them every cast.
Wow, so the kingfish have showed up. That's the first report I've heard of some kingfish. They're still pretty far south of St. Pete and Pinellas County, but that's good to hear they're off of Boca Grande like that.
Well, when you measure it, what is it, 40 miles?
Not too far.
From up to Tampa Bay?
It's a long car ride, shorter boat ride.
It's much shorter boat ride.
Yeah.
God help you driving these days.
Yeah, it's
anyway, the fishing's definitely picking up at home. Expect to see probably see a few tarpon caught this week. Everything is looking real good.
That's exciting news. Exciting news. I just pulled up the Egmont Key buoy. It's at 66 degrees right now. So we're on the doorstep. This week we have that warming pattern, and you mentioned it's dirty on the beach down there right now, but do you feel, and what I've noticed lately is when we get up to these moon phases, like we're coming up on a new moon a week from today, and the tide's really going to pick up around Tuesday, Wednesday, and we start to see those really big flushing tides, and I think that helps clean up the water a little bit faster. We just had a cold front, but the wind's going to calm down. The moon's going to get right. We're going to have these bigger tides. I think it helps clean up the water faster, at least in the passes. What do you think, Van?
Well, it definitely helps circulate the water better. Mm-hmm. And the grass flats inside filter the water, and the oysters and stuff, that's what filters the water, and our inside water gets cleaner that way.
Yeah.
Our outside water and around the passes themselves, the slower the current flow, the faster stuff will fall out of suspension.
Mm-hmm.
But with all the beach renourishments we've had the last decade or two, they bring in that other sand, and it has a lot of real light silty stuff that it takes longer to fall out of suspension.
Yeah.
But and the only thing that I know that really cleans that out is our grass flats and our oyster beds and stuff.
Yeah, I just like the big flushing tides because you get a big, strong outbound, and sometimes you'll get that clean, clear water from, I guess, all the grass flats inshore, and then it starts to look nice in the pass until that incoming tide starts again, and then all that beach water comes back in, and it gets muddy again. So it's always nice to see those big tides flushing some of that stuff back and forth, I guess.
Tell you what you do, D. Drive out on the bayway after, while that water's dirty on an incoming tide, you'll see that chalky water coming in.
Mm-hmm.
But when that tide turns out, you'll see those beautiful streams of clear water coming off of the flats.
Mm-hmm. And it's also pompano. Those pompano strings of clean, clear water, too. It's crazy how they like working those edges of that murky water. It's like they're camouflaging themselves.
Yep, exactly. And I'm sure missing them. Looking forward to seeing them soon, but I haven't seen any to speak of yet. I keep hearing about them, but I am not seeing them.
Yeah, I'm getting pictures almost every week of pompano. And now, instead of 1 or 2 pictures, I'm getting 3-4 pictures of them submitted for the weekly fishing report. So they're picking up. It's just so spotty. And I was talking to Capt. Ray Markham, and he was saying the same thing. It's just I'm not seeing them. So I'm hoping they'll continue to pick up, and we'll get more and more, and hopefully it'll get more and more widespread. But I just looked up the offshore buoy. The Egmont buoy is 66 degrees. The offshore buoy southwest of Johns Pass, about 100 miles or so, is 69 degrees. So water temperatures are getting right. It's on the doorstep of that time of year. It's exciting.
Yes, sir. And they're starting to catch some permit offshore, too, already.
Nice. Yeah, I saw a nice permit coming in to our south, and it'll be good to see those things get up on the reefs again as well.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I fish out of Stump Pass Marina down there in Inglewood, and they're bringing in some real nice mangroves, some beautiful yellowtails, starting to bring in some real nice permit, and those kingfish really sweeten the pot.
Amen to that. The mangrove snapper fishing has really turned on like crazy. The last 2 weeks or so, it's just been like an exponential increase. We're seeing big mangroves, even pretty shallow, 40, 50, 60 foot.
The biggest I've seen in a while.
Yeah, we're seeing 5, 6, 7. Captain Glenn Taylor was out with Captain Mike Anderson, and Captain Glenn told Mike and showed him a photo of a 12-pound mangrove he caught in less than 60 foot of water.
Yep.
Nuts.
So on your on the last night trip that I did with you guys, believe it or not, it was the bloodworm moon, the eclipse, the whole nine. And as soon as we dropped, it started firing off on the biggest mangroves I've ever seen come up on the night trip. Huge.
There was Ken, who won the jackpot, had an 8.9-pound mangrove, and then he had an 8.5-pound mangrove, too.
So
nuts.
Everybody was bringing up, grouper-sized mangroves all around the boat, but there was a party next to me that was a bachelor party.
Mm-hmm.
One guy was getting smoked on a runner rod, so I'm watching him, and happened to be a big kingfish, at least 36 inches, came right up to the top, circled a couple times. I looked down to see if the mate was around. I went over there to try to fling it up, but it cut and, swam off, so it was fired up.
That's awesome, man. We appreciate you, Van. Thanks for giving us a shout this morning.
God bless you. Have a great day.
I appreciate it. Kingfish Reports. That's exciting stuff. That and more on the other side. We're coming up to a break. If you have questions, comments, fishing reports, bring them here. 1-800-969-9352. Real Animals Radio. We'll be right back. So a kingfish on the night trip. I didn't hear about that one.
No one saw it. So I would port stern.
Yeah.
They had their back corner, and it was me and my friends just right above them. And there was a big guy about your size just stroking mangroves, dude. I mean, the biggest that I've seen. And one of the younger kids in his group, he's trying his best to get something up. I was kind of watching him. I thought it may be an amberjack, and you just see that big, silver come up. He circled a couple times, and before I could even, go over there to help, it had cut off. And big kingfish.
He caught it dropping or reeling up?
I think it was on the bottom.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that happens.
It seems like with that specific moon that we had, the bite wasn't on fire.
Yeah.
But they were hammering. So when you would get a bite, there was a couple times I missed fish, and I was like,
freight
okay.
trained you.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for that one yet.
You knew you missed the fish.
No kidding.
There was no question about it.
Right.
You know what happens sometimes too is someone like that who maybe doesn't understand you have to stay on the bottom. Mm-hmm. They'll be just off the bottom or not paying attention, and their lead's bouncing, and it's making that bait bounce. Mm-hmm. And those are the guys who will catch the kingfish a lot of times.
Absolutely.
So interesting.
Those pelagics are so funny, man. You get to moving that thing around, and they'll drop to the bottom and pick it up.
Yeah, they come up that chum line,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people kind of dog party boat fishing, but one of the benefits of party boat fishing is the fact that you create a natural chum line. Yep. People start catching fish, and it definitely
it helps us
turns on the bait.
I'll tell you that. I'd prefer a boat with a little chum slick, little bait guy action than one without.
Yeah, a lot of people were sad about our slow pitch jigging only trips going away. But that's what we found is the slow pitch jigging only trips were cool for a little while, get people interested. But once people learned how to slow pitch jig, they didn't want to go on a slow pitch jigging only trip. Right. They want to go with other bait fishermen because the bait fishermen get the smell going, get the fish interested, and then the jigs get their attention.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will say whatever they want, but I'm not a purist when it comes to slow pitch jigging. So if I'm looking around and the bait's firing off, best believe I'm switching over every time. Yeah,
I find it's hard to switch back and forth, but I find if abstract 100,000 foot view, if you're gonna plan a trip, slow pitch jigging at the very start of a stop and the very end of the stop is really the best time to do it.
Yep.
Because you can get down faster than anybody else at the start. It's something big, flashy, new. The aggressive fish, if they're ready to eat, are going to go for it.
The more dominant ones.
And then once everybody starts dropping bait, the smell gets out there, the fish get more bait focused. And then once the bite slows down, the fish have seen all the bait, they kind of get full. Then you drop the slow pitch jig down again, and it's, again, something fresh, new, shiny, gets their attention.
Well, it's like all those fish congregate, and the biggest and the baddest eat first. So 9 times out of 10, if you're dropping a big, shiny jig down there, the first one's out of that hole to go hammer it. You can spice it up with the bait here and there, and like you said, if you come back through towards the end, it'll just absolutely fire off sometimes. Yep.
And it's hard to do that. We can talk about that now. The very beginning and end of a spot, but then you get out there and you're ate up with it. You're focused.
You're eating. All right, I just gotta wait.
One more second. I'm gonna let this bait sit. One more second.
Nope.
Yeah. I was my father-in-law was down at the pass yesterday watching the 39-hour load, and he was like, "Why do they bring so many rods?" And I was explaining you bring rods for different reasons, and I was like, "I'll bring 4 or 5, but I'll end up fishing with one."
Yeah. No kidding.
Because in your head you're planning, but in reality you don't end up following through.
Now your captains, Mike Anderson and Dylan Hubbard.
We're back, Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio Show, talking fishing this morning with Tim Duncan here, and hopefully you're enjoying the show this morning on this chilly Saturday morning. We've got Donald from Lutz on the line. What's going on, Donald? How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. Hey, welcome aboard the show there, Tim. It sounds like you're having a lot of fun out there.
Oh, thank you. Much obliged.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, I've been moved here in '87 from up there in Long Island, and started fishing on the Hubbard's boats. I think it was '89 or '90. Man, that's why I moved to Florida.
That's it.
For no state income tax, real estate tax.
Amen.
Homes cheap, and the fishing.
Yep.
Because I used to fish up there, flounder fishing, Great South Bay, and fluke fishing, and it's like coming down to Florida, man, what a different variety.
Yeah.
But, doing this for a lot of years. But, fishing. I've got another kayak outing next Saturday, Dunedin Causeway. If anybody wants to stop by afterwards, I've got, doing the cheeseburgers and hot dogs out there, and we're going to have a ripping tide. next Saturday. That should be a lot of fun
New
to
moon.
kayak out there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Should hopefully produce well over at the Dunedin Causeway. It should be some good snook fishing, hopefully, with this big warm-up. I would assume those snook will get a little bit more active for us as things start to get right as they're coming out. And that's a good area for it, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I've caught some lot of cool sharks in my kayak. And, dead sticking.
No thanks.
Yeah, even black-tip sharks on a paddle tail, Fort DeSoto area. That's always cool. But, shark fishing is cool. I took my nephew, I don't know how many years ago, Dylan, on one of the shark trips.
Oh, nice.
My nephew wanted to go out at night. And I took him out there and he did hook into one.
Nice.
And they kept it and brought it on, and we actually let it go. So I think we did. I don't remember, actually.
Yeah,
but,
nowadays we release all the sharks due to just societal backlash and the fact that most of them are protected now. I mean, you have to be a scientist to know what you're looking at, unless you get like a big hammerhead or a bull or a tiger. I mean, those are easy to tell apart, but for the most part, especially juvenile, like under 6 foot, you're virtually guessing.
Black tips,
unless you have
spinners.
a PhD.
Yeah, yep, I agree.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's hard to tell them apart for sure.
Yeah, this was probably like 13 years ago, but because he was a teenager when I took him, and now it's like almost 30. It's crazy.
Time flies, baby.
Everybody else gets older.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're due for another trip. 15 years.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have really bad arthritis, and I've got to get a knee replacement, and it's just not good right now.
So,
but,
wait. So you've got a knee replacement. You're playing the I'm too old and feeble card right now to go offshore fishing, but yet you're gonna carry a kayak down to the water and launch a kayak.
I don't
make that math make sense for me, Donald.
No, I trailer it. No, I've got boondock wheels for it. No, I don't carry anything. My battery weighs 16 pounds. The lithium. My motor weighs only 15 pounds because I do paddle just to get in some exercise, but mostly I motor.
So you're boat fishing.
He's in a vessel.
This makes sense now. Okay, I'm putting it together. I feel you. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, no, it's not a lot of work what I do with a kayak. I sit in it. It's like sitting in a lawn chair. My old town, sportsman. So
that's
now
comfort.
You get in that seat. I am comfortable. I got a cushion for it for my tushy, and the kayak has a boat throttle, forward, reverse. I mean, it is a boat.
Work smart, not hard. I feel it.
Nope.
I feel it. That's awesome. Well, we're up against the clock here, Donald. Tell us how.
Big fish in the 10-footer, but it's cool.
Nice. We're up against the clock, up against the break. Tell us how they would meet up with you next week at the Dunedin Causeway. Remind everybody.
7:30 in the morning, meet up, and just launch whenever you want to. Get back at 1 o'clock, and I'll be serving lunch. Burgers and hot dogs are going to be just after the kayak rental place, but before the bridge on the south side.
Nice. All right, Donald. Thanks, buddy. Have a good one. Thanks for calling in, as always. We've got our Visit St. Pete Clearwater Safe Boating Tip of the Week on the other side with Coast Guard Auxiliary Captain Jim Vogel. Don't go anywhere. Real Animals Radio will be right back.
The preceding program was paid for by Real Animals Fishing.
I was about to say, I was like, you've got arthritis, you've got a bad knee, you can't go on the boat. Oh,
right.
You're trailering your kayak.
It's like a riding lawnmower at that point, cruising around.
Chilling. Now I'm putting two and two together because he talks about smoking a cigar in his kayak, and I've always thought, like, how the hell do you do that?
Pat your stomach and rub your head, yep.
But now it makes sense. Okay.
That's luxury right there, man.
Yeah. Like, I had one of those pedal kayaks before. The guys at Tackle Shack hooked me up when I was real young, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and you could go so far, and it didn't really feel like you were working too hard.
You get with the current, you could be hauling tail down the road.
You're hauling butt. It had like a little speedometer thing on it.
Oh, no
Because
kidding.
like the little ball would go up this glass tube, so
Right.
it kind of, I guess, tell you how fast you were going. And if you were pedaling and paddling and like working, dude, you could go pretty fast on them things.
I'll believe it.
Get some good speed, cover some good water. And it's so impervious to wind because you're pedaling under the water.
Yep.
It was pretty fun.
Then you got your hands free for fishing. It makes it awesome.
Yeah.
I need to get a good
Donald said, I hold a drink, smoke a cigar, and steer with my feet.
He's got it figured out, man.
Yeah.
I'll have to try that out.
Just put the rods in the rod holder, let the bobber do the work.
Yeah. Troll it, slow troll it.
Nice. And when I was kayak fishing, the biggest, best fish I caught was not with the rod I was holding and actively fishing.
Oh, the one off the back.
It was always the one
Every
off the
time.
back. The DOA shrimp under the bobber.
Yeah. Oh,
Big
yeah.
snook,
They call
redfish,
it the deadly
trout.
combo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love the deadly combo.
Are you familiar with Bushy? Do you know who that is?
Bushy, no.
He's a YouTuber, and he's a Spanish fellow. I don't remember where he's from, but I caught. So at Apollo Beach, I caught 2 cobia. 2 years ago, I caught a keeper right off my kayak, and then I caught that big one the following year. But a week before I caught my first one, or a week after, Bushy goes out there with his kayak. You know, he'll hook up on the buoys and throw a tilapia off the back. Wow. You know, like a bigger bait. He ended up with a 60, 70-pound cobia right there at Apollo. I mean, huge.
Right where you fish.
Right where I was like, oh, they put it on the internet. I was like, they'll be blowing up our spot like
Oh,
that.
man.
But, you know, no one owns the waterway, and those cobia, they stack up in there like you wouldn't believe, man.
That's crazy. Some of those big brown bombers get up there for sure.
Love them.
Ronnie Millsap said the Florida is much more comfortable than a kayak.
Yep.
It is pretty
Don't even
nice.
have to steer. I wonder how they did that. Oh, you guys didn't go out last night, did you?
Not on the night snapper. It got canceled because of that weather. But the Florida went out there. Text Will, see how he's doing. It's nice to be able to text the boat offshore.
Yeah. Is that the inReach or the Starlink?
Yeah, the inReach. I want to get Starlinks on the boat, but it's
expensive.
$250 a month for the service, and if you go over the data plan, they charges you like the old school cell phone plan.
Yeah.
So it can get expensive.
No kidding.
So I'm trying to figure out. My buddy knows this guy who created a modem that kind of throttles it back. So if you connect to the Starlink, it'll only let you get like 5 to 10 megabytes per second.
Right.
So basically, it won't let you stream.
Right.
So that way, you can't stream movies offshore, and then that will preserve the data. And you can answer texts and emails all you want. You just can't watch a movie. And
which is good.
Then we wouldn't go over. And then also that software, that modem, allows you to create like individual temporary passwords. So that way, if you're on a 39-hour, we could offer it to guests. Hey, you want Wi-Fi during the trip? Whatever amount of money. That's what they do in a lot of ports now with on party boats. Is you want Wi-Fi with the trip? Here's the password.
Man, I bet everybody would pay for that.
Right.
Literally, yeah. Oh,
It'd be cool to be able to text and FaceTime and stuff like that offshore.
Live streams.
Yeah,
well, I guess you can't. Well, it depends on the modem, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd be able to live stream.
You know me, I'll have pictures up as soon as I caught a fish.
It'd be pretty cool. Night Bite was awesome.
Real life, or live fishing reports from the
Florida Middle Grounds.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Pretty dope.
I like that.
Because if it's not throttled, you can FaceTime and live stream no problem.
Just eats up that data.
Yeah. But if you're live streaming for a purpose, then it makes sense. Like I know there was like an option for like a master code that's not throttled kind of thing. So
okay.
That way, if we went out there and we were going to do a live stream, we can. It's pretty interesting.
And he's streaming Netflix on the galley TV.
Yeah. Be Netflix for 39 hours, we'd be out for sure.
Right? No kidding.
Staff, management, or parent company, iHeartMedia Incorporated.
Welcome to the Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio Show, your weekly voyage into Florida fishing. Presented by Hubbard's Marina, hosted by Captain Mike Anderson and Captain Dylan Hubbard.
We're back, Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio. Myself, Captain Dylan Hubbard. We've also got Tim Duncan in studio this morning talking slow pitch jig fishing and more. Got some good questions coming on the stream here. Someone asked about discussing the colors and weights for different depths and recommending something for near shore. So we're going to get into that very shortly. But first, we want to hear from Captain Jim Fogel, our Visit St. Pete Clearwater Safe Boating Tip of the Week. What's going on, Captain Jim? How are you, buddy?
Hey, good morning. So far, so good. Thank you very much.
Nice.
Yeah, this morning I want to talk about floating objects and debris at sea.
Yeah.
First, there's I got a couple of categories here. The most important one, of course, is boaters in distress.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you see a boat out there and you think it might be in distress, you want to approach it carefully. Now, if there's 57 guys hanging off of a 25-foot boat, you probably ought to call it in first, okay? That's probably not a good thing to go approach real quick. You could lose your boat that way. All right. So you want to approach it if it's no danger to your vessel or crew. Never endanger your vessel or crew, okay?
Good.
And inquire if these people need assistance. But like I said, if it looks dangerous, if it's a little scary or something, then call it in first. Call the Coast Guard. Make sure you give the latitude and longitude that you guys are at. Most important. Okay,
Amen.
Then you want to provide appropriate assistance. Appropriate assistance. That doesn't mean any, transplants or anything like that. We don't want you doing anything that you're not qualified to do, or anything that they don't ask you to do. You do not have to tow them. You may, if you wish. You can a lot of times they've just lost power, and they need you to call some towboat company for them. So that's all good and well and good. Of course, if it's getting dark or the weather's getting crappy, you may want to hang out there with them till they get help if you can and if you have time. They may just need some water or something like that. You probably ought to report that to the command center, and then the Coast Guard can help with relaying to towboats and things like that.
Yeah, when in doubt, report. Always a good idea.
If you find a life raft floating out there,
which a lot of people did this week.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So you want to check it to make sure there's nobody inside. And then you want to take pictures if you can and report the latitude, longitude, and time of this floating life raft.
So what's this? Did you get the story on the one that floated by? I mean, Captain Glenn Taylor and Captain Mike found it on their filming trip. We found it on the hub. A bunch of boats ran across that thing, and it seemed like it was from South Carolina. The flares were shot, so the flares were expended. There was MREs eaten in there, so obviously someone spent time in it.
Wow.
What was the story behind it?
I don't know that there is one yet. I have not got a report on whether or not they've tracked it down.
I got you.
But what's important is, that y'all report it or anybody report it, so that if there's a vessel that's declared missing later on, they'll have some idea about where it's been floating and what's going on. They need to know that to put a picture together.
Amen.
And of course, you want to always report this floating life raft to the Coast Guard. I understand Big Mike tried to get it out of the water.
No
but
shot.
It's virtually impossible. You can't do that. They've got flotation below them to keep the wind from blowing them upside down, and you ain't going to get that water out of there. So
not even Big Mike.
No, not even Big Mike. The second category I've got in here is like debris, pilings, partially submerged or sunk vessels and crap like that.
Yeah.
If there's nothing marking them, you want to check it out, and you want to try to mark it with something. Try to leave one of your old life jackets, a fender, or something like that tied to it so that somebody else that's not paying as much attention as you are, won't run over it and tear up their boat or something.
Yeah.
You also want to report that in to the Coast Guard, especially with the latitude and longitude.
After you've caught all the triple tail underneath it.
It was on my tongue.
Yeah. Don't report it until after you've caught all the triple tail, right?
Of course. All right, number 3, debris that might be dangerous to sea life.
Yep.
And we're talking about those damn balloons, plastic bags, and crap like that.
Amen.
So if you're not in some major killer rush, please deflate this thing and get it into your boat, put it in the trash, and take it back home and dump it or something. Don't let it stay out there and kill our critters. We just don't want that.
Yeah, we were talking to Captain Travis Thompson earlier about the legislative session, and one of the bills that got passed either last year or the year before was that bill that made releasing balloons illegal. Yeah. Made it, I think, a felony or a third. I don't know what it was, but maybe just below a felony, maybe a heavy misdemeanor. Basically, if you're caught intentionally releasing a balloon in the state of Florida, it's you're gonna get feel that one. Nope. Pretty good news.
Yeah, yeah. My wife used to give balloons and stuff to kids that were graduating from her treatments, and she was giving helium balloons, and I shamed her out of that real quick.
No more.
It was a long time ago. Yeah, she's very astute to that sort of stuff. Anyway, all right. One more thing I'm going to give you, everybody, if you can, take this command center number down. 866-881-1392. That's the Coast Guard Command Center. So if you can't get them on the radio and or you're in close, 866-881-1392.
Yeah.
That'll get you straight to a human being, and they'll take the report. But if you're offshore, you're gonna probably need to call it in.
Yeah, the command center phone number and the FWC reporting hotline number are two numbers they give out all the time. Because if you run into a sea turtle, manatee, dolphin, you see something fishy that shouldn't be happening. On the fishing side of things, you call the FWC reporting hotline. On the Coast Guard side of things, if you're offshore, obviously the command center. For us, being Coast Guard inspected, we're mandated to report to the command center when anything virtually happens. So we call them a lot. We got them on speed dial.
I know you do. And you guys are on top of it anyway, and I appreciate that a lot. We all do. All right, guys. Thanks for the time. For the Coast Guard Auxiliary in St. Pete, Jim Fogel. Be safe out there.
See you, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Always a pleasure. Our safe boating tip of the week. Visit St. Pete Clearwater. Safe boating tip of the week. Always a pleasure to hear from Captain Jim. The triple tail on the floating debris is always a good one. If you find something within 10 miles of shore, definitely triple tail. Even one of the best triple tail debris we ran across was a huge buoy that had fallen off a ship or something. This thing was like the size of a school bus, and it was in 600 foot of water. Yeah, and it was loaded.
I believe
with triple tail, like hundreds. And it was pretty impressive. But long story short, close to shore, you run into the triple tail, maybe some mackerel. But if those things are offshore, one thing that I've learned, and Captain Steve Pappin alliterated on this when he was on the show probably 3 years ago when we were in our old studio. We were talking a lot about how people mess up. They come across floating debris like that, and they look for triple tail or mahi or something. And if they don't see anything, they move off of it.
It's the ones you don't see.
Exactly.
The bigger mahi most times will be off that buoy a little bit, circling it. So if they see something in a distance, they'll stay off and they'll watch something come up and kind of congregate to it, and then they'll fire in and come right back off.
Yeah, that and below it too. He was talking about dropping the speed jigs or the slow pitch jigs down next to that thing, and a lot of times that's where the wahoo are hanging out. Is down below. The same as the idea that you just had with the mahi staying outside of it and coming in. The wahoo are staying below it, and they see that congregation and they speed up to the top and eat them.
They'll fire off and go get it. And back to the triple tail. Shout out to my brother Chipper. It's his birthday, but I took him on a trip on a party boat. I believe it was with you guys, and there was a bucket floating.
Oh, yeah.
And as the captain was coming around, my brother, he happened to have a hog ball with a shrimp on it, and he threw it out, and he actually hailed the triple tail out, but that hog ball sank so fast he couldn't do it as we're anchoring, obviously floated off. But I was thoroughly impressed. I was like, man, you to be able to do that on the run as we're anchoring, that's pretty good. He probably would have caught it if it would have been bucktail or something.
Yeah.
But
got to be a little bit slower falling.
Yeah. Or a bobber, bobber for triple tail. If you can get 2.5 foot leader, little live shrimp on the bottom and just right past the buoy.
And a bobber makes it easy because it gives you that weight to be able to cast it. Yeah, because if you get too close with the boat, you're going to spook the triple tail. He's not going to eat.
As always.
Yeah.
Always try to approach him slow, too.
Yeah.
That's when you see a lot more stuff. You can see the shadows. You got your polarized glasses on. You can see further down in the water column, and a lot of times you'll see those flashes.
Yeah.
Way far down.
And the bucket thing, a lot of times the triple tail's in the bucket.
Yeah, that's what he was.
Yeah.
Hailed him right out of the bucket, man. He was in there just...
so many times people are like, oh, there's nothing on it. I'm like, yeah, it was in it, bro. You missed it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you don't even have to cast to them sometimes. If you come up real slow, how many times have you seen the video? Up. Yeah, where they just come up to the bucket real slow and go to pick it up, and the triple tail's in the bucket.
Yep.
Easy peasy.
Too cool.
Yeah.
I've also seen it where, like, boats will have small holes in the bottom of it, and they'll fill up but still be buoyant. So there's a little tidal pull in there, and the triple tail will just stay up sideways in the boat, hanging out like it's their own little vessel. Like
they
they're going to smoke a cigar or something,
Pull a Donald Waverman.
Right, exactly.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, it's always interesting to see that offshore. Whatever the debris is, you want to check it out and obviously report it like Captain Jim Fogel's talking about, but fish it. Fish it. There's always something around some of that debris.
Those buoys will fire up the fish too. I don't know if it's just the natural life that's on them, but last time I went out fishing buoys, we'll hop all the towers and all the buoys going out, the Alify and stuff like that up over near like McDill and stuff too. And we've got to the point where big cobia, we're so fired up, they're going right past our shrimp and hammering our bobber. I mean, crunching them flat on the surface and stuff. And you're like, get my shrimp. But, they're just fired up on something, moving around. They think it's a little crab or something. They want it bad.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Aggressive. And what I've learned recently as well is triple tail, everybody gets focused on the crab trap buoys along the beaches in the spring and the fall. But you can get triple tail all year in the bay fishing those
channel
markers.
Yep.
It's crazy. And you don't have to see them.
Yep.
That's what you don't see, just like we were talking about with the debris.
My brother Chipper, man, he's really good at that. He's the one who got me into that, actually. He'll call me up first thing in the morning. Hey, we're going to put the boat in, be here. And I'm always there, regardless. Yeah. So we'll go right out and we'll hop every single buoy that we can possibly find and usually end up with some good fish. That's awesome, man. What's your setup if you're going to go fish a marker for triple tail? I like my classic rod, man. My inshore rod's a 710 Bull Bay Banshee with a pin authority, like I was telling you. 20-pound braid, 20-pound leader to a Cajun Thunder. If you're going after the tarpon or the big cobia and stuff, I'd recommend the Magnum Thunders. They're bigger. But if you get just a regular old popping cork, 2.5 foot a leader with a live shrimp or a live greenback, they love it. They eat it up. So that's what you're going after. Yep. Cajun Thunder, man, that brings back some memories. Yeah, doesn't it? Those popping corks are bad to the bone. When you're catching nothing but trout and you eventually hook a small tarpon or a snook, you're just elated. Fired up. Yep. Well, we're going to be right back with more on the other side and going to pick Tim's brain on his slow pitch jigging setup approach for nearshore and offshore. Don't go anywhere. Real Animals Radio will be right back.
Listening on the free iHeartRadio app. Thanks to Farah and Farah, it's never been easier.
bad, Pete.
Did you see those pictures I sent you?
Of the pompano?
Yeah, those pompano jigs, man. There's a guy named Chip, comes in and buys them 24/7. Slob, snug, pompano, back to back to back. And it seems half the people that come in are like, oh, the pompano aren't running. You know, I'll have to wait. And Chip's over there just slaying them.
He's catching those snook?
On that pompano jig.
That's crazy.
That's the most productive jig I've ever seen. It's insane how good it works.
They have the grunt hunt today,
Yeah.
the Great American Grunt Hunt, and I'm still lobbying to try to change the name of that tournament. It's going to be the Gray Snapper Hunt, guys.
Right.
It's bullshit. Captain Steve Paxton texted me. He's like, I bet you're sad how many grunts are going to die today.
Right.
Guys, mind your own business. Leave our Gray Snapper alone.
Is it who are those guys? You work with them. Who's hosting that event?
Madeira Beach Marina is the host, but it's Old Salts.
Old Salts.
Who's actually putting the tournament on.
And
So
those
it's
guys.
Old Salts, Madeira Beach. The city works with them too. And then I believe Snappers,
The restaurant.
Sea Grill.
Mhm.
The restaurant out on St. Beach. The owner, Dan, he is a board member of Old Salts, so they do the fish fry.
Cool. Too cool.
Should probably get that event a shout out.
Now your captains, Mike Anderson and Dylan Hubbard.
We're back, Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio, talking fishing this morning, and hopefully we'll hear from you as well. Remember, 1-800-969-9352 to join the conversation. Want to, of course, give a shout out to our friends over at Affordable Roofing Systems. Whether you need a shingle, metal tile, or a flat roof, our friends at Affordable Roofing Systems are your safest choice for repairs or replacements. With over 3 decades of roofing experience, let Affordable Roofing Systems guide you through this important process. They are defined by integrity, respect, and honesty, and they have a professional approach to doing business. Call 888-397-ROOF for your free estimate or visit them online at affordableroofingflorida.com. With that, we've got our buddy, Captain Bobby Woodard, on the line. What's going on, Bobby? How are you today, bud?
Hey, good morning, guys. Good show.
What you doing today, buddy? You building the new boat?
Well, I
Yes.
should be. I should be on the way to Daytona to work on that boat, but I realized this morning leaving the house, because the boat's all stripped down, I didn't have any lights on the trailer.
Classic.
So I've been,
So you're
I've been
gonna
out in the barn doing some
rebuild the
pretty
trailer and then go ahead and rebuild your boat. I see how it is.
Well, you know, I am from Imperial Polk County, so I've done some pretty impressive Polk County engineering thus far, and it's good enough to get up to Daytona and back.
Well, let me tell you, my father has definitely got some Imperial Polk County in his blood. What we have is a light bar that we can move from trailer to trailer because we have a couple trailers,
100%.
and instead of getting everything done for each trailer, he just has a nice long 2x6 that we switch from trailer to trailer to trailer.
Works good.
It works out. Makes it easy. Just a nice long wire harness.
Well, to take that to the next level, now they make wireless trailer lights, and you just plug the receiver into the back of your truck where you would plug the actual harness into.
That's
So
way
you
too
just
much
rig up a bar.
fanciness for our Polk County setups, man. Come on now.
Can't afford that.
That is cool.
Well, so there is Polk County involved though, because the nice wireless setup is from Harbor Freight. So you know, Polk County.
There it is.
I'm going there right
the
after
Harbor
this.
Freight. All right. That makes it Imperial Polk County accepted, you're saying?
Certified.
Yeah. You don't lose any Polk County cred that way.
Harbor Freight. That's the trick. I got you. So are you all geared up now? I know you went out fishing and got some tarpon out there in the past. Are you getting more and more antsy for tarpon season around the corner?
Yeah, man, it's going to be a good season. We went out last Friday night actually on the full moon. Just kind of had a little bit of a hunch and a whim, weather wise, water temp wise, moon wise, that there'd be some fish around, and sure enough, there was. We had a pretty good, 2 or 3 hours of scouting around, and got some. So I think this next coming moon, the new moon coming up next week, is going to be even better. And then I think the full moon, the first moon in April, is going to be pretty much game on from that point.
Awesome stuff. It is definitely around the corner. Are you already booked up for tarpon season, or are there open slots for people to join Capt and Bobby Fly 'em High charters?
Yeah, I do have some openings. Definitely, getting booked up, but do still have some openings. Obviously, my boat won't be ready for season, but I'm fortunate enough to find a loaner boat I'll be running. So I'll be running an old school 24 Pro Line flat back.
Nice.
So if anybody's wanting to get out there, they can give me a call or reach out through the website, which is captain-bobby.com, and we'll get out there and get your tarpon fix.
There it is. Well, good luck today, man. Safe drive on the way up there to fix that boat up, and look forward to hearing about it next week. Hopefully some more early season scouting is going well for you, brother.
Yeah, man, appreciate it.
Thanks, Bobby. Have a good one, bud. Always a pleasure to hear from Captain Bobby Woodard and all his boat building exploits, whether he's building his roof or his house. His house got destroyed in Hurricane Ian. One of the properties he operates for tarpon season in Hurricane Ian in September of 22, and he rebuilt the whole thing himself.
Man.
Yeah.
And the individual.
It's impressive. And of course, his wife helped a lot too, but yeah, super handy. It's crazy. It's annoying. You know, he sends you pictures. It's like, look what I did to my kitchen, and you're like hiding your phone from your wife. Like,
Looks
I don't know how to do that.
Right, exactly. Got to call a real man.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And rebuilding his own roof. It's a whole different level, man. That's pretty cool.
It's funny is back in the day that was not uncommon. Nowadays, it's like, man, it's going to cost me $20,000, and I have to find somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do it all yourself if you have the time.
If you're from Polk County.
Yeah, certified. A lot of Polk County this morning.
A lot of Polk County, for sure. Imperial Polk County, as Bobby would correct us. We're going to be right back after this. Bartow Ford, Real Animals Radio. Don't go anywhere.
From the local Lexus.
All right, so when we come back, let's go over colors, setups, recommendations. A lot of people are interested in slow pitch jigging near shore, less than 100 foot. But that's kind of like, I don't know, like 103, right?
Yeah, it's funny how it works like that. You would think you'd just eventually go out, but once you get slow pitching down, you're kind of like, all right, if it works out here and deeper, what can it do inshore? Then you got the guys who are jigging off of bridges or in, those big potholes and stuff, and it produces, man.
That's cool. Ronnie said, to keep your Polk County cred, I think it has to be Tractor Supply, not Harbor Freight.
Yep.
Nothing's wrong with Polk County. We're just we're joking around, Angel. It's impressive.
To say the least.
Yeah. Manatee deaths in Homosassa.
I was looking at that earlier. The last couple of years, they say we've had record numbers of manatees like in and out of the Apollo Beach and stuff, which is cool.
Record.
So,
yeah,
it's good to see that.
Record number of black bears, pelicans, manatees.
I saw the black
sharks.
Bears thing. You know what?
All our charismatic megafauna are thriving,
especially the crocodiles.
Yeah.
We were on a trip going to Apalachicola for the shark tournament where we caught that big hammerhead. And there were bear signs on the side of the road everywhere.
Yeah.
We're kind of making fun of it, like, oh, bears,
Yeah.
I'll be darned if we weren't on the way back, and in front of us was a Jeep Wrangler driving down the road, and a bear just came from the coast, barreled in front of this vehicle, barely got missed, and there was like a slight hill going upwards. He hit it 3 strides, and he was all the way up top. And I was like, man, there are bears around here. That's insane.
They're fast, too.
Yeah.
Those little black bears can get it.
yeah. I was like, he must have just got back from fishing. I mean, directly to our right was nothing but the road and beach, and that was it. So he was doing something out there.
Mark Mahoney said, let me guess, Captain Mike's playing touch butt with the Blue Hairs this weekend. Yes, he is playing softball, for those not understanding Mahoney.
Right. He said that, not me.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Oh, Mark is, man, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree there. That's awesome.
Mahoney crew.
Touch butt with the Blue Hairs. I'm going to have to remember that one.
Next week.
Yeah, for real.
Get a good callback going.
Oh, man.
Did y'all have a softball team?
We had a softball team.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a softball team. We had a group of guys and gals who got together and happened to be on a softball team.
Right.
Or happened to be on a softball field. And there was a softball and a bat involved, but I wouldn't say team. That's a strong word. No, they did okay, but it was we tried to join like a beer league, you know, like informal fun thing, and there wasn't enough for that like lower level league, so they bumped us up. And
then it gets hard.
we played against teams that like had uniforms and like batting practice, and they smoked us.
No kidding.
Yeah, and I only played, I think, 1 or 2 games. I think just 1 game. I was trying to let them have their fun, you know. The stories that came out of it were hilarious.
Oh, I'm
man.
sure. I'm sure.
The first game, like 4 people got injured. It was so funny.
People sliding in the base and being 10 feet away.
Oh,
from
yeah.
it.
No. One of them was running to first base, not sliding into base, just getting from home plate to first base, just frickin' fell and like skidded on his face.
Face first. Oh, man.
I won't use names because I don't want to embarrass them, but one of them stubbed their toe really bad, passing first base. Couldn't walk right for a few weeks. One of them pulled a hamstring. It was very comical.
Stick to fishing, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Too funny. Yeah, athletics were not a strong suit, but we're getting better. Better. They're trying to put together another softball team, so we'll see.
Something to do.
It's fun. The biggest challenge is making sure they all show up to work the next day.
Yeah. In one piece.
Yeah. In one piece and not hungover.
Yeah.
And Hubbard.
We're back, Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio. Want to give a shout out to our friends over at Relentless Perpetual Edge Knives, the world's first self-sharpening knife that actually sharpens as it cuts. An ultra-hard carbide, never rust titanium blade with a true grit glass reinforced ABS handle on a knife that is perfectly balanced, and it comes in 5 great models. Take the work out of filleting a pile of fish today and grab a Relentless knife. Go to relentlessknivesusa.com to find out for yourself why this is the knife all the pros are talking about. So we got a big segment here and no callers, so we're going to have a chance to dive into this slow pitch jigging thing that we've been hinting at. You've definitely become an expert and want to pick your brain a little bit. If you're getting into it, we talked earlier in the show, if you're getting into it, you really want to try to invest in a rod and a reel to do it right. You can put a slow pitch jig on your normal snapper setup, but it's just not going to be quite the same because that rod is designed to bend and recoil and load the jig and give the jig the action. So it's similar to like investing in a $10 rod and reel to go out fishing compared to investing in a $400 rod and reel to go out fishing. It's night and day difference. So you really want to invest. And people are asking like, what kind of rods and reels do you need? But there's so many different ones. I mean, you could go high-end Temple Reef, Saltiga. You could invest $1,500 in a rod and reel tomorrow to do some slow pitch jig fishing. But you could also do it for, I mean, you get some of those like Goofish, some of the Pacific Sun or whatever it is. There's some
PC
brands.
Fun.
Yeah, PC Fun. That's how I can never pronounce any of
I
this.
just found out how to say that.
Thank you for telling me. So, yeah, you can get some of these brands that are $100, $150, $200, $300 reels, and you can get rods. I mean, all day long you can find rods, decent rods for $150, $200, $250. You start to get a pretty nice combo.
Absolutely. And it's cool. I mentioned last week or a week before last that the market was opening up to where you did have all these options, and it seems like there's the people who want the quality but can't necessarily afford it right off rip. So my boss Diogo is actually he's designing all of his products around the entry level cost. So right now he just developed a series of rods that they retail at $269.
What's the brand name?
They're Soros. So they're
rods.
Soros Hilla Jigas. Super nice rod. Triple blended tori carbon fiber. It's a hybrid, so it's got different cloth molecules throughout it and different layers to the rod itself. Super sensitive, quality components, and it matches or competes with our highest end models that are $500, $600, $700 for entry level. So you have the American version. I call it not so slow pitch, and then you have the traditional Japanese version, which is super technical.
And a lot of people will sell, they'll have, you go to a tackle shop and they'll have a slow pitch rod and you pick it up and immediately you realize this is not a slow pitch rod.
Correct.
A slow pitch rod is like the equivalent of an extremely slow action trout rod. I mean, it's like a wet spaghetti noodle. They should be very limber. If you have a really stiff rod, that's not a slow pitch rod. That's a jigging rod. They make like Penn Carnage.
Yeah.
I see those listed as slow pitch jigging rods in tackle shops all the time, and they're not a slow pitch rod.
No.
It's a jigging rod. It's
Correct.
different. So you're looking for something super slow action.
Correct.
And there's a bunch of like entry level. How much are those Soros rods?
They retail at $269, and we give a year warranty. If something happens to it, come back, pay half price.
And if you're going to get a slow pitch rod, it's a good idea to get one with a warranty.
Yeah, no kidding.
You'll break the tip off.
Yeah.
It's almost guaranteed. And it's not because the rods are too light and whippy, because a lot of times that's what people say, oh, that rod's going to break. They won't break if you use them right.
Right.
But what will happen is those little wind knots, those little tip knots, and you got to be careful. You got to make sure you're paying attention to that line, especially with braid, especially in wind. You get a little knot around your tip and you don't realize it, and you go to jig up and a fish hits it. Smoked.
Yep.
Lost tip.
A lot of people don't realize, too, these rods are like, they're carbon fiber. They're super, super durable. But each rod, and it doesn't matter if it's a cheap rod or an expensive rod, they all have backbones. So you and I, we can bend down and touch our toes. We can't bend backwards and touch our heels. Yeah, correct. I got a little a hump in the way, but you can't bend backwards and touch your heels. They're designed to be used in one specific way. So if you're abusing them, if you're high stick them, you're flipping big fish over the boat. That backbone, when you load it up, it's fine. But you go to flip a fish in the boat, and all that weight and everything else transfers to the side of the blink, you're going to snap it every time. So you got to be careful. I always try to give myself some slack, put it in the rod holder. If it's too big of a fish, I won't even attempt it, because a lot of times in slow pitch, people are using what's called PE line. It's rated by the diameter, and it's the thinnest you can imagine. I mean, they're using 20-pound test essentially in 800 feet of water, pulling up 30-pound Kitty Mitchell grouper with it.
Yeah, right.
So
definitely makes it tricky. So you want to make sure you have the right line. So generally, for your entry-level slow pitch person who's going to be fishing, you want to fish beyond 100 foot. Starting out slow pitch jig fishing, you want to start beyond 100 foot. 100 to about 250 foot is a good starter area. Basically, a 12-hour extreme, a 39-hour, 44-hour is a good idea if you're coming out with us to do a trip. But I generally always had 30-pound braid and about a 8 to 10 foot piece of 50-pound fluorocarbon on top of that braid.
It's about perfect.
Is that what you would recommend to start out?
Absolutely. Anybody starting out, I always try to say go towards the American ratings, like the 30-pound test in a Uzuri or something like that.
Yeah, because the whole PE thing, I'm lost. I don't get it.
Me too. I hate to say it, but sometimes, I mean, I'm using PE6 from Silk Ocean, and it's different from the Siglin Sunline. And
yeah, and you start talking to people that are really into slow pitch jig fishing, and they start using all these Japanese terms, and I'm like, wait, what? Can we speak English, please?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's challenging. So starting out about 100 to 250 foot, you got the line set up. We've talked about the rod, the reel. Now, choosing your jigs. So what jigs are you, I mean, if you were starting out and you bought your rod for $250, you bought your reel for $250, $300, your reel, you just want a small reel. You don't need a special. There's no such thing as a slow pitch jigging reel. Some people will say, yeah, I know, some people will say there is, but honestly, you can buy a really small, like narrow reel, like a Shimano Torium, a Saltist or Saltiga, 15, 20, 25, even up to a 30. And those smaller snapper reels will work.
They work perfect
as a slow pitch reel. Now, there are slow pitch reels, and some people like the handle on the left side. That's not my game. I got to have the handle on the right personally. But yeah, you can get dialed in over time. But starting out, just a small snapper reel, but you need the slow pitch rod. That's important. Now, what jigs are we going to choose?
If I've got a little bit of money and I'm starting out, I want to get at least 2 or 3 of each kind of size model. I like the shorter, fatter jigs, the slow ones, especially the red and golds this time of year. Absolutely killer. But if I have 3 different colors of the slow style jigs and 3 different colors of like the spear style or the hybrid style and our frontward weighted jig, I've just recently gotten brave enough to where I'm switching through jigs. You'll throw a couple strokes on a jig, it's not working that well, it's not producing, there's other fish being caught. Switch it out, be brave. Try everything, try it again. It takes that one presentation sometimes, whether it be color, flutter, action, whatever it is, it'll fire them up and they'll get going eventually.
Yeah. And sometimes you could be using one style of jig and just changing the color works.
Oh, yeah.
And changing style of jigs work and switching it up and also dropping down and bouncing right on the bottom, or maybe it's just off the bottom. I like hitting bottom, getting contact with bottom, jigging it 10, 15 times, and then reeling up a half crank or 2 and jig it 10, 15 times, reel up another half crank or 2 and repeat that process a couple times and then drop back down to bottom. And if I don't get bites, that's when I'll reel up and switch colors or switch jigs.
That's what I like about the 200-foot depth range, is you have the opportunity to work your depth or your jig at the bottom for a little bit. Then you can rip it up and start playing with the middle of the water column. So a lot of times, if grouper isn't firing off and you work through a couple jigs, I like to throw like a real flashy silver on and start working through the water column just to see what pelagics are around. A lot of times you see those spear fishermen, they'll be out and they'll have a real shiny stick. They throw it out and the fish will, aggregate to it. And I think that happens with the jigs. Fish naturally come around, and you're not really supposed to overpitch, but sometimes I like to because it sends and pitches that jig right in their face. A lot of times I hook up on fish where it looks like they
What do you mean an overpitch?
So traditionally, you don't want to have a bunch of slack in your line. So, you want your basic action of your slow pitch, but if you're over pitching it and you have a bunch of slack piling up on the top of the water, that's not great. But as it's falling and you have all of that length that jig's still going to go for the bottom dwelling fish, I think it sometimes just punches right in the face with with your jig, and you end up hooking up the fish either on the side and the butt, whatever else. And even if they're just attracted to it, you still have that chance of the 360 angle. You can just snatch them.
And the fact that you have 4 hooks a lot of times, double assist hooks on the top and bottom of the jig always help. So as far as sizes go, you're starting out on your first adventure, you're fishing that 100 to 250 foot. What size jigs? How do you decide on the weight?
If I'm at 200 feet, I'll go 200 and above, especially if the current's ripping real well.
200 grams.
Yes, I'm sorry. You want to match your grams with the depth. So if you got a 200-gram jig, it's usually best in 200 plus foot of water. But don't be afraid to go a little bit heavier.
That's interesting. So you want to go heavier than the water. So basically, rule of thumb is a gram per every foot.
Correct.
But you go a little heavier if the current's running a little stronger.
You want a complete vertical presentation. So
you want to stay as vertical as possible.
Yep, correct.
Okay. That's interesting. And then if you're fishing shallower, say like 100 foot, you're going to start with 100 grams or better.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
I'll start at 100 and 120 maybe. If I'm in 80 feet of water, I won't be afraid to throw a 120-gram jig down just to kind of work it and see what's going. Sometimes they absolutely fire off on the bigger jigs. I've been in 80 foot of water where fire truck red grouper would not stop hitting it, and we had to leave the area, because we limited out and just didn't want to keep, bringing fish up. So
if I'm targeting a scamp, what color am I using?
I really like the squid colors. Anything natural that's going to have a little bit of glow, two-tone. Golds are amazing. Pinks are really good. The pinks and blues. But natural squid colors for scamps, just absolutely hammer.
What about red grouper?
Red and gold.
Red and gold.
My absolute favorite.
No hesitation.
Nope. I heard it on a seminar years ago. Somebody caught a red grouper. It spit something up that was red and gold.
Mm-hmm.
The guy said, let me try. I got a red and gold jig, and fired off on it. I was at a spot, was bait fishing, caught a big red grouper. I said, I've got a red and gold jig. Fired it down, and I was hammering bigger ones after that. So
red and gold for red grouper, pinks, greens, blues for scamps.
Mm-hmm.
Gold, that black and gold color, I like that one a lot too.
Oh, yeah.
What about for mangroves?
Mangroves, they like sometimes a smaller profile of jigs. I was on a trip one time where I caught a jackpot winning mangrove, and Will came around the corner. He's like, did you just catch that? Because I just caught a scamp too.
Yeah.
And he said, man, I always swore the big mangs won't hit a jig, but they will. And
smaller profile, meaning like shorter, fatter, or just smaller in size overall?
Shorter, fatter, smaller in size. If you can get the real dense, smaller ones that they can actually, anything that's going to fit in their mouth is what they're going to want to eat. Anything bigger than that, they're kind of afraid of. So
that's awesome, man. Smaller profile, still using the double assist hooks though. Mm-hmm. Those little micro jigs, like getting into that near shore jigging stuff, basically. We talked earlier about slow pitch jigging being kind of like class 102, but the near shore jigging side of it kind of goes against conventional thinking, because like if you're starting out fishing near shore, shallower than 100 foot of water with bait is like kind of the starting point. Yep. And then you go deeper as you get more advanced. Slow pitch jigging's the opposite.
Yep.
Fishing that 100 to 250 foot is the beginner area for slow pitch jigging. Fishing less than 100 foot is kind of the next level up, huh?
Yep. A lot of people can't get out to 200 feet of water. It's not as much pressure. So a lot of those fish are seeing jigs for the first time.
Yeah.
Inshore, near shore, people are fishing 24/7. So, you can go to the Skyway and people are like, man, the Skyway sucks. I only catch pinfish out there, this, that, and the other. If you learn how to bait fish it well, you can produce. But some guys are taking some of our pompano jigs and just jigging them off the bottom or right along the bridge and just smoking big snook, big mangroves, big redfish, and it's...
All right, so fishing offshore is the beginning level, slow pitch jigging. Near shore is the next level. Mm-hmm. Inshore slow pitch jigging, that's got to be like, that's a whole different class.
There's a couple key guys that come to our shop that are just tuned into it, and daily.
That are slow pitch jigging from a bridge?
Yep. Mm-hmm. They're throwing, 7-gram micro jigs at a time. We have 10, 20s, and 30s. But people go lighter than that sometimes, 7-pound test, and they'll be on the bridge just hammering mangroves, man. You can't get a bite, and they're just over there one after the other.
7-pound test with a 7-gram jig catching mangroves from a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's something new. Haven't even heard of it before. Yep. We gotta get some YouTube videos on that.
I was just fixing to say we're trying to work on content as we speak for that.
Well, let's definitely do that. That'll be interesting. I'm interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta
go get Mike out there too.
Yeah, we can. It would be funny to. Now I'm picturing Mike, myself, and you in a boat together. We're using these little micro jigs and micro rods. Yep. That sounds like fun, though. It's like crappie fishing, right?
Exactly.
Everybody likes crappie fishing because you're using these light rods for these small fish, these baby jigs. And it's basically saltwater crappie fishing.
Exactly.
But you're fishing for a mangrove snapper that might be 15, 20 inches.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And
whole different ball game.
It's so cool because you never know what's going to bite a jig. Doesn't matter. I've slow pitched hogfish out of 200 feet of water, and that was incredible. But sometimes I've been throwing jigs at a pass or at the bridge. Something hooks up and just spools me till it's broke.
That's
so I'm
awesome.
like, what could that have been?
Well, I lost track of time. We got carried on here, but we got to take a break. We'll be right back with more Real Animals Radio. Don't go anywhere. For over 20 years, Ace Heating and Cooling has been the... I got carried away myself. Once I heard micro jigs.
Yeah, it's easy to get fired up for that.
That's cool. 7-pound test. Now I'm picturing one of those rock piles in Tampa Bay along the fishing or along the Egmont Channel.
Oh yeah.
Dropping down on one of them at slack tide.
Mm-hmm. We have, of course, those little pompano jigs, but we have also look like mini high-speed vertical jigs. You can throw our little. We have micro assist hooks that have wire on them.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take some of those to the Skyway and try to get some decent mackerel out there and maybe some yellowtail off of a 39 or something like that when everybody's chumming at the end and dumping all their stuff over.
That'd be interesting. You know what would be interesting, too, is that south side of Johns Pass Bridge. Mm-hmm. It's like 20 foot deep there.
Yep.
And super rocky on the bottom. And they've caught some. I saw an 18-inch mangrove come up there.
Man.
Yeah.
That's impressive for near shore.
Yeah, one of the kids came in and they bought a bunch of thread fins, and they were fishing the bridge. And they're good fishermen, so I knew you have tourists that want to buy thread fins to fish on the beach all the time, and we have to talk them into the shrimp. But these kids were buying it. I'm like, I know they know what they're doing, so why are they buying thread fins? So I questioned him about it. He was like, dude, check this out. And he like kind of secretly showed me his phone. 18-inch mangrove.
Killer.
Yeah,
Absolutely
dude.
Killer.
Yeah, so they're there.
Say the
Crazy.
least. I like to get into.
Everybody's picking on me because I said crappie instead of specks.
Oh man.
I've literally never caught either. Whatever you call it.
Really?
Never.
Oh man.
I've been bass fishing. Like I went to school in Orlando and there's no salt water, so I had to try freshwater fishing. So I got into bass fishing a little bit, but yeah, I've never been speck fishing ever.
I'll tell you one of my favorite places to go speck fishing is down in Hardy County. There's a place called Hardy Lakes. It was 4 old phosphate mines. Mm-hmm. Real green, dingy water. You just take some minnows out there and float them on the top or the bottom, and the crappie that would come up were just enormous. I mean, the biggest I've ever seen.
That's cool.
But they're fun, man. I love me some crappie.
Specks, crappie, whatever you want to call them.
Pomaxis nigromaculates is the Latin name for that fish.
Boom.
There you go.
Yeah, fish names. People get so worked up about.
That's a mingo.
Yeah. Mingo, vermilion.
Yep.
Black mangrove snapper could be a black snapper, a goozer, a mangrove. So there's only one correct name for a white grunt, and that's gray snapper, guys.
Correct.
Yeah, I get in that argument all the time. What's really funny is like a sand perch. Everybody calls squirrelfish.
Yep.
And then we catch a razorfish.
Now
Everybody calls it a razorfish, but its proper name is squirrelfish.
Squirrelfish.
Or how about Chilean sea bass? It's actually a Patagonian toothfish.
You would have got me on that.
Yeah. So weird.
I didn't know that until like 2 years ago that hogfish were a wrasse species. Mm-hmm. Blew my mind.
Yeah, if you Google a Patagonian toothfish and see it, and then think about how much they charge for Chilean sea bass, it's crazy. We're back talking fishing, Real Animals Saturday, and our last segment here. Want to give a shout out to our friends over at Reese Windows and Doors. They bring you our weather update, and we're coming up to that full moon next week, new moon next weekend, a week from today. Tides will be picking up through the week. Weather's looking really good. Great week to get out there on the water, capitalize. Things might be a little bit tough today with the water murky. That cold front just blew through, but it should be picking up quickly for us. Looking really good for the end of the weekend and really through most of this coming week, especially as that tide picks up. Remember, Reese Windows and Doors is Florida's leading window and door company with 50 years in business. They offer free installation on most windows and doors, and they install in just 6 weeks. They only use in-house installers, no freelance contractors, and their work comes with a double lifetime warranty. So when you sell your home, the warranty transfers to the new owners, adding value to your home. Visit reesewindows.com for more info. Now, Tim Duncan was our guest this morning, talking fishing with us. Some really interesting stuff we covered. If people wanted more info, how would they get a hold of you? How would they come meet up with you or follow you on social media? Give out some of your info here, bud.
My Facebook's Tim Duncan. I have a fishing page called Cranked Up Fishing 813. If you want to go and follow that, and 6 days out of the week, you'll find me at the Fisherman's Hut down there in Bradenton. Big shout out to Diogo. He's the owner. Today's his birthday. He is the man. He's taught me everything I know about slow pitch, and it's
super nice guy.
The best. I couldn't be more grateful to have a boss like him. But super knowledgeable. I'll bring up the stuff now so we can.
Yeah, Fisherman's Hut down there in Bradenton, and then Tim Duncan, and then it Cranked Up Fishing 813.
Yep, Cranked Up Fishing.
I like it. You have a YouTube channel?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And
so it's Cranked Up Fishing 813 on YouTube?
Yep. You might find it under Tim Duncan, but I recently posted the footage I have of slow pitching that hogfish with you guys out there. So I'm going to share that. I got the wahoo that I caught, and we're working on some individual content right now for micro jigging. So before you know it, we'll have it up.
Oh, very cool. And there's more micro jigs out, some really cool stuff, and lots to do for sure. So definitely check out Tim's social media. Check him out down there at the Fisherman's Hut and stop by, pick his brain, and stay tuned for more content. What else do you got for us?
The Fisherman's Hut's located at 1834 14th Street, West Bradenton. Come on down. You know, any and every question you had, you can call the shop. We'll answer it, or you can come on in.
Yeah, there you go. And our buddies over there at Gator Gyms also has all the slow pitch jigging stuff. You can come in, talk to them. They'll get you dialed in. So wherever you're at in the county, in the area, in the region, a lot of these local tackle shops are getting dialed in. Obviously, the Fisherman's Hut, Gator Gyms are really in. I know Dogfish has some of the information too. The Outfitters, they are all dialed in. So definitely plenty of options out there. Get out there on the water, and don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. So you just got to get out there and try it. Practice makes progress.
Absolutely.
Don't forget the live stream show tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Don't forget to join us Tuesday, April 15th from 7 to 9 p.m. at the OCC Roadhouse Real Animals Fishing Conversation. Tim will be there, he said.
Absolutely.
So we can ask some slow pitch jigging questions. We'll see you there Tuesday, April 15th at OCC Roadhouse. Tomorrow morning, Real Animals Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. on 620. Don't miss out, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming, Tim.
Thanks, Dylan. My pleasure.
All right, y'all. Have a good day. We're out.
The preceding program was paid for by Real.
We did it. Another episode down. Thanks for watching this morning on the stream, y'all. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Again, thanks, Tim, for coming. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and got some good quality info. You can always drop your questions in the comments if we didn't cover something. If you have questions about stuff, Tim, I'm sure, will be going through the comments as well, and I'll tag him on anything that I don't have the answer to. So drop a comment if you have some more questions. Don't forget to tune into the show tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. live on the Hubbard's Marina on Facebook and Real Animals Facebook and Hubbard's Marina YouTube for the Sunday night show. And yeah, appreciate you coming, Tim.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dylan.
Yeah, man. You guys have a good day. Happy Saturday. Tight lines. We'll see you next week for another episode.
Too cool.
Yes, sir.